All right, let's do that. And people started showing it. I just tweeted that out. Hopefully, we'll give people a minute to hop in. Let me know if you can hear me clearly. Steve Areno's mug, 1999, still hanging in there. Let me share this. Yeah, Duke, I'm kind of shocked too. Hey, Ty. This was kind of left field. We just had a podcast yesterday, and we talked about the fact that we couldn't think of anybody that would opt out. We were under the impression that Jamie Newman needed that extra year to kind of cement his stature. We knew that he was on a rise. We didn't think he was maybe a first, second round pick, maybe third to fifth. We thought, big season with a great offensive line, strong wide receivers. Throw ins to George Pickens. Hell, I could throw to George Pickens, Wouldn't get there, but, if I'm a decent quarterback, I'd love to throw to George Pickens, Demetrius Robertson, Keiris Jackson. They're going to make me look good. The little dump down pass, a little 5-yard pass to James Cook that he takes 40 yards, and all of a sudden you have 40 yards of passing. I'd take that all day. But and we couldn't think of anybody else that might opt out. So, like I said, this kind of came out of left field. Scott Morgan with Motkins, excuse me. Justin Fields is playing. No, he's not playing. Ty says, my heart hurts. Justin Smith, go Dogs. Of course. Jacob Thompson is the best UJ Newman highlight. Him throwing a football over the pool into a basketball hoop. From a UGA sports standpoint, yes. Check out Dane Young on Twitter. He has compiled Jamie Newman's best UGA highlights. It's a short clip. This does stink. You're right, Green Soldier. Now, okay, I want to get into what Andy Stowe's talking about. He thinks he's moving down the depth chart and didn't want to be seen as the guy that lost the job. That is the preferred narrative of a lot of people who are not Georgia followers. It's a preferred narrative of a lot of Georgia fans that think, oh, well, the only reason he did this is because of he was losing the job to JT Daniels. I do not agree. Just give me 1 second. Let me see. Come back. Here's what we were told. Okay. It was COVID related. A lot of people said that was the excuse. That was my first thought, was that's the excuse. My thought is he doesn't want to take a chance on having a bad year. I did radio with Mark Zeno earlier, and he pointed out that before last season, Jake Fromm was listed in many of the mock drafts as the number 3 quarterback to be taken by the end of the year. He wasn't that guy. Maybe that this was a situation where Jamie Newman's like, look, I'm already I look good on these NFL draft charts, mock draft charts. I don't want to play a season, take a chance. Maybe he's not allowed to talk to an agent. He can talk to one now. He couldn't talk to one prior to that, but maybe a family advisor, someone else said, hey, why take a chance? Especially if you get into a very conservative offense, and all of a sudden you're just handing the ball off. Why would you want to do that? In other words, the same people like me who thought he needed a year to progress and show that he was a first, second round pick. There is a school of thought that maybe, hey, look, if you don't go to UGA and have a big year, you could drop even further. Coming out of Wake Forest, you were one of the hottest commodities. Everyone said, the sky's the limit. You've put on muscle mass. You look good. There's a lot of hype around you. A lot of teams fought to land you. Consequently, that kind of hype will carry over to the NFL. Let's go ahead and start practicing for let's get 6 months of NFL combine prep in and go at it. Then today, 819 people at the University of Georgia were diagnosed, or not today, but the numbers came out that over 800 people at the University of Georgia had COVID. Again, that's less than 1%. I think there's 50,000 students and staff at UGA, so I can't say that it is. But to sum up, too long didn't read. Jamie Newman was the number one guy. He was the starter. He was not losing the job. He was not in danger of losing the job. Would not have lost the job unless something else came along. Dwan Mathis and JT Daniels were fighting for that number 2 spot. If Georgia decided to run a very conservative offense, a Jake Fromm offensive last year, it might have been JT Daniels. But I think they wanted to run a more quarterback-centric type of offense. I don't want to call it a spread, but definitely a dual threat offense. And for that, you use Jamie Newman. And if you don't have him, you use Dwan Mathis. Everyone's going, oh, well, now it's JT Daniels. Really? Don't forget about Dwan. Don't forget the team loves Dwan. The team loves Stetson Bennett as well. So, sorry if I haven't got to it. Yeah, Michael Porter is COVID related. Wesley Brown, glad he's leaving. That's kind of cold-blooded, Wesley. Now, Jace Walt says, Jamie Newman banking on his Wake Forest film. Yeah. Again, you don't have to win to be drafted. You don't have to be on a winning team to be drafted. You just have to have potential. The NFL drafts you on, can you help this team win? People say, oh, well, this guy, he won a national championship with Alabama. Yeah, but if he's a third-string defensive tackle, he's not going to get drafted. It doesn't matter that he's got a ring. They don't care. That doesn't transfer to the NFL. This guy, he was on a terrible, terrible team. They went 2-10. Had zero effect on whether or not he'll be drafted. All it takes is one of those 32 teams going, we think this kid can play for us, and you get a contract. Michael Porter says, I think it's going to be okay. Yeah. You got JT. Remember this about JT Daniels. JT Daniels comes into UGA. He was ranked number 4 in his recruiting class, behind Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. The important thing to note there, he entered school a year early. If he had actually entered the following year, which he should have by age, that is a guy who probably would have been number 1 overall. But as it was, he was number 4 in the nation behind 2 other great quarterbacks. So you had 3 quarterbacks in the top 4 players in the nation. Georgia was in the thick of it for Trevor Lawrence. They lose him to Clemson. They wind up getting Justin Fields, who transferred to Ohio State. And then you wind up getting JT Daniels. So kind of crazy. Jamie Newman was not impressing Monken or Kirby in practice. Okay. That goes counter to everything we heard, but yeah, tell me that. You definitely don't have to win to be drafted. Ask Jared Goff. Very fair. CD Dub. Ty Samuel. Green Bay proved you don't have to win to be drafted. Yep. Very true. Dwan Mathis is a hidden gem. Guys, do not forget how much the team loves Dwan Mathis. When everyone was talking about JT Daniels and Jamie Newman, you had Malik Herring, Eric Stokes, a ton of guys on defense saying, look, Dwan Mathis, don't forget about him. He's our guy. They know what Dwan Mathis went through. They've competed against him. They know that he's completed passes on him. He has a cannon for an arm. He has a super high ceiling. He could be a fantastic quarterback, or here. I don't think there's an in-between for Dwan Mathis. I think he's all rolled, or maybe just an also-ran. I don't think he's going to be good, not great. And I think he won't play, or he'll be a hell of a player. I just think it's to the other ends of the spectrum for him. Yeah, Doug Rhodes says, Justin Fields told Newman he was coming back at the scrimmage Saturday. That would be news to both Justin Fields and Jamie Newman. Jason, I appreciate the info. I appreciate you tuning in. Thanks. Yeah, Andy Stowe says, that's what I was thinking about, Roddy. I've been watching and listening to you guys talk about Mathis. Again, Mathis, cannon for an arm, an absolute gun. That's not to say that the other guys don't have one, but he does have that. And again, if you want to run the kind of dual threat offense that's been very, very effective in the college ranks, you can do that with Jamie Newman. You can also do that with Dwan Mathis. Now, Dwan's not nearly as big. I mean, Dwan's is kind of a skinny guy, but he can take off. He's fast. I mean, incredibly fast. He's mentioned continuously among some of the fastest players on the team. And he doesn't have the Eric Stokes, Tyson Campbell track speed, but getting past a crashing defensive end, beating an outside linebacker, he does have that speed. So he knows he's not the biggest guy. He's not going to drop a shoulder and hit him. He's just going to outrun him. So let's give him some credit. The sheriff asks, has JT Daniels been cleared to play? He's cleared to play for UJ. He's just not cleared for contact. And I know a lot of people keep saying, yeah, he was coming on. He was going to win the job, and that's why Jamie Newman's going. For the love of God, people, JT Daniels wasn't even cleared for contact yet. How the hell are you going to rank him? This is the number one quarterback out there. Let's let him be cleared for contact before we anoint him as having the guy to have unseated Jamie Newman for the starting job. So he has not been cleared for contact. I think that's just you don't need to. I would not clear him for contact until the day before the first game. You don't hit your quarterbacks in practice. If he's not cleared for contact, then he doesn't have you keep him from just jokingly tucking the ball and running in a scrimmage. He knows he's not allowed to do that. Everybody on the team knows you're not allowed to hit him because he's still injured. And then you give him the okie dokie, if you will, the day before the first game. Again, Ron Corson. A lot of trainers in football in general, I'm not going to say SEC or anything like that, know that their job is almost like triage. Patch them up, get them back on the field. Rub dirt on it, give them a shot, give them a pill, whatever. The coach needs them, get them back out there. Ron Corson, in all the years I've been covering Georgia since 1993, I've never known Ron Corson to treat a player that way. I've known players who say, I'm ready to go. I've known coaches that say, he's ready to go. I know parents who say he's ready to go, and none of them can get past Ron Corson. So Ron, if he believes that you're not cleared to play or you're not cleared for contact, then you're not cleared for contact. Now when you are, he won't do what I would do, which would be to not clear him until the very end. He'll clear him when he thinks he's ready. And again, the last thing you want to do is have a situation where Jamie Newman opts out. You say JT Daniels is now miraculously cleared for contact. He steps on a guard's foot when the guard's backing up or something. Somebody comes through and hits him a little too hard, and all of a sudden he's out, and then you get accused of having rushed him back. So you take your time and keep him safe. JT Daniels will be ready by week 1. Yeah, he might be ready by week tomorrow. Tracking the Dwan Beck show. I'm not expecting much out of Carson Beck. That's nothing against Carson Beck. It's just, Newman had the experience, so he was going to be the guy with the most experience after him. JT Daniels, granted, is with USC, but USC plays some tough competition. And think about it. He's a 18-year-old starter out there. He's been through the fire. Dwan Mathis hasn't played at this level, so Carson Beck hasn't played at this level. So if you want to say that JT Daniels is the guy, I can see it because he was brought in to play. He wasn't brought in to sit on the bench. But to me, if you're looking at it by a sense of seniority, JT Daniels with the experience, Dwan Mathis, who's been here longer than Carson Beck and worked with these guys a lot longer, I just don't see Beck getting into it. Do you think he won't be cleared? No, I think he will be. I just don't think I don't think there's a rush. Sergeant AR-10 says the only thing our quarterback needs to do is throw to Pickens and hand the ball off to Zamir. We good. Far be it from me to counteract that narrative. But don't forget, you also need to hand the ball off to James Cook. I think James Cook's going to be out there. Guys, if Kenny McIntosh winds up being the best running back that Georgia has in that room right now, do not be shocked. Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. Do you think that's a good question from Indy Clip 87. Do you think a 2-quarterback system, depending on the situation? I love that question. Could you have a 2-quarterback situation? Yes. We've seen it work for some teams where you come zipping down the field under a pro-style offense, and then when you get in the red zone, it's, hey, look, put in the running quarterback. So whatever's going to give you Monken's explosive plays. Remember, he wants 1 explosive play per 8 snaps. So Trey Parr says, any information on new Arkansas team under Pittman? Think we could get by QB struggles in week 1? Yeah. Arkansas is a mess. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I just say, remember, I think, what they on how many games have they lost in the SEC in a row? That is just Pittman's got his work cut out for him and has the toughest schedule in the history of schedules, in my opinion. Kevin Cook says Kendall Milton's going to be good. That's true. Now he's banged up a little bit, but Kendall Milton could be fantastic. I'm just thinking this year, first few games, Zamir White is going to. He and James Cook, I expect them to run ragged over Arkansas, but don't forget about Kenny McIntosh when he gets in. When Georgia gets up by a few touchdowns, he's going to light it up. And Kendall Milton certainly is a hell of a player. See, Dog West says, just as long as Bennett don't start. Hey, don't rip on the mill, man. Stetson Bennett was the reason you won the Rose Bowl. He's a talented QB. 2 inches taller, and there's no question as to who your starter is. And a lot of guys can compensate for not being 2 inches taller than they'd like to be. Anyway, Stetson Bennett's a hell of a QB, knows the system backwards and forwards, knows played all sorts of different types of offense. If worst case scenario, you had to throw Stetson Bennett out there, Georgia would definitely beat Arkansas. Auburn could be tricky. Kevin Cook, Florida's still going down if they can lose to Fromm 3 years in a row. Plus, they have a clown for a coach. I'm not touching that one, Kevin. Nope. Michael Porter said, let's hope 10-0. Yeah, got it. You can hope so. Life Dog 1968, not a fan of Arkansas for some reason. I don't get it. The sheriff says Stetson's not even close to Fromm. How so? What? Fromm's back shoulder passes, they were so magical and majestic. A lot of those were passes that were a bit underthrown. Fromm can get him down there. So, I mean, Stetson could get him there. He is the mailman. There's a reason. I'll put it this way. Back when you had Fromm and Eason going head-to-head, I spoke to someone who was at practice every day, and he said he'd start Stetson Bennett ahead of both of them. That's somebody who's there every day, just to give you an idea. Josh on YouTube says Dwan has a great story. He does. Absolutely great story. A guy who at one point when that brain cyst was found was in danger of not playing again. And you notice he has this scar from the surgery. I mean, something like that, not only is your football career in danger, but your life's in danger. But he's come back. It's healthy, was ready to go last year, kind of chomping at the bit, but they didn't let him. Again, Ron courses. He's not going to let anybody get out there and do anything before their time. So he does have a lot to prove. He has the backing of the team, just like Stetson Bennett does, the two of those guys. And I'm not saying anything against JT Daniels, but these guys have been fighting with Stetson Bennett and fighting alongside Stetson Bennett and Dwan Mathis for some time. Their teammates love them. They'll rally around them. That offensive line will run through a brick wall for either one of them. So they will have team support. You got to like what they bring to it, and that's nothing to nothing against JT Daniels. Not to say that he can't be the leader of that team, but those two guys have that kind of rally around mentality. Devote says, "Do you think Dwan Mathis will start over JT Daniels, or do you think Dwan Mathis or JT is good enough QB to win the Natty?" Right now, my inclination right now, knowing Kirby, is that JT Daniels wins the job based on the idea that he likes a traditional offense. You've seen that. Conservative. James Coley could call any offense you want. Jim Chaney could call any offense you want. What offense did they call? They called the offense Kirby wanted. Kirby likes keeping the ball on the ground. He likes no turnovers. That's his number one thing. He doesn't like giving the ball over. That's who he is. I could definitely see a situation where he's like, look, we got a guy with more experience. I know what we're going to get out of JT Daniels. Let's start him and see how it goes. Maybe that's your starter. That doesn't mean he's your finisher. All right. Jackson Bates says Dwan needs to start. Again, I don't think there's not a bad situation. And remember, guys, this year doesn't even count. I mean, it'll count for a title, but it doesn't count against their eligibility. So these guys can both play. They can do whatever they want, and they'll still be fine. You know, it doesn't. None of this counts against their year of eligibility or their term of eligibility. So I think that's pretty good. Jackson Bates is crying. I'm so sad Jamie opted out. Isn't it just the most damn Georgia thing ever? Hey, yesterday, do you think anybody's going to opt out? No, I don't see anybody opting out. You don't have a Isaiah Wilson or Andrew Thomas on this team. You know, you don't have a Leonard Floyd or a Roquan Smith. No one will opt out. 24 hours later, Jamie Newman opts out. I got to tell you, breaking news like that, we love to break news at UGA Sports. We get a kick out of it. That's why we have so many members. We're now the #1 SEC site on Rivals. We're the largest SEC site. We're #3 in the entire Rivals network. Thanks to people like you who subscribe to UGAsports.com, and I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to this YouTube channel. But sometimes you have to deliver really, really bad news. Oh, and there's a source calling me right now. I won't bring that up. Michael Port says, yes, Kirby loves running the ball no matter what. A lot of coaches love running the ball, especially, remember, Kirby's a defensive-minded coach. He knows that when you throw the ball, 3 things can happen. 2 of them are bad. So if you can run the ball and get 3.5 yards, what do you think he wants to do? So does Georgia's quarterback just need to hand it off to Zamir White, James Cook, Kendall Milton, 3 5-star guys, and your 4 stars are Kenny McIntosh, who's going to be a breakout future star, or Dejon Edwards, who a lot of people just overlooked, a tough runner who's played at some of the toughest competition in the state. That is a legit running back room. You've got all these hog mollies up front who can push people around. Why not use them? So, but, you got George Pickens. I'd throw to him. Can you tell us a little bit more about Major Burns? You guys have been mentioning his name. Major Burns is one of those defensive backs that we've heard a lot of good things about. We've also heard some good things about Jalen Kimber too. So I know a lot of people were knocking on Major Burns because he just wasn't the biggest guy out there. But remember, that was the same knock on Richard LeCount. And also think about the NFL. They're working more and more on speed than they are and versatility than they are bigger and bigger. Okay. You want guys who can play 3 or 4 different spots in the secondary and guys who can run down some of these ridiculously fast wide receivers. So, I mean, look, when you're playing Schwartz, I can't think of his name, Anthony Schwartz at Auburn, one of the fastest human beings in college football. You need somebody who can run with that guy. So a quick kid like Major Burns, you don't need somebody who's the years of playing Alec Ogletree at safety, like Georgia had to do for a year because they promised him that those are long gone. If UGA Sports is #3, who are the top 2 in Rivals? That would be our Texas site and our Florida State site. Get us to #1. Tell your friends. Don't sleep on Daniels, guys. He has more talent as a passer than anybody we've had since Stafford. That's Rodney Hewitt. And Rodney may not be wrong. Would not surprise me. Light Dog 1968 says Ringo's out for the year with a shoulder. I don't know he's out for the year, but he's out for a long time. Dan Riggins, I've taken a break on UGA football until the week before kickoff. No, don't do that. We're going to keep breaking news. If you were here last Friday, not here, but if you were on our site last Friday, you got all these practice notes that nobody else had. Then Saturday after the scrimmage, you had notes from a true insider. I mean, as insider as you can get that we had. And then Monday, we had even more scrimmage notes from an observer who was there. That was their take, but they were actually in attendance, and we put those out there. We give you more insider notes than anybody else. And then days like today, I'm about to go for my walk and get the note that Jamie Newman is leaving. David Wiggin, will Monken have a day in the QB choice? Heard Kirby was staying out of the offense more. David Wiggin is right. We have heard more about Smart being a little more hands off the offense. To that point, that's an issue of scale. Okay. When you live in the offensive room and you live in the special teams room and you live in the defensive room because they meet at different times and you're in all of them, maybe the fact that you're in there 10% less, so that you're only in there 80% of the time, means that, yes, Kirby's a little more hands off, but that doesn't mean he's not, he's went from 10% hands off to 20% hands off. So, and that all changes once the plays start calling, or once the game starts. Kirby could say, "I love what you're doing, but here's what I want you to call." And again, remember, the coach can overrule any play at any time. Z-Man saying why he opted out. So a lot of folks are joining us late. Again, please remember to hit the subscribe button and hit that little, I think there's a bell button. Guys, I'm not good at this. Hit the little bell button, which is the notifications one, so it'll let you know that when we go live, you're here. Why did Jamie Newman opt out? Again, we are told it's COVID. It did not help that the University of Georgia today reported 800 plus new cases of COVID, jumped from like 198 to 800 plus. Again, there's 50,000 students and faculty at UGA, so it's less than 1%, but he said that it was a part of the uncertainty of a global pandemic, I believe are his exact words in his tweet. I'm going to take him at his word. I'm not going to follow with the conspiracy theory that he's doing it because he was losing the job. We have sources. We broke the story. We asked our sources, why did he leave? Was it because he was losing the starting job? To a man. And get me wrong, they will tell us bad news. We break bad news. I've been called the angel of death of Georgia football news for years because I break a lot of bad news. We broke Broderick Jones getting hurt. We broke Darnell Washington having surgery. We broke other laborers and the other Keely Ringo being out. We break a lot of bad news. So if there was a reason, a dark and disturbing reason why Jamie Newman was opting out, we'd know. And everyone that we spoke to said, no, it's kind of a surprise. Everyone, he told us the reason he's getting out is because of uncertainty. Now, my gut reaction is I think that he's banking on not only the uncertainty, and I don't think he feels the need to come back for another year and to prove himself. A lot of the other guys who are opting out are saying, my tape is good. What I will show at the combine will be better. I'm going to work 6 months on that. They're going to have decent film. I'm going to be drafted on potential. Let me get my potential up and avoid any chances of getting sick or getting injured. This year doesn't even really count when it comes to an eligibility standpoint. So why take the chance? And guys, remember, each year we see more and more and more juniors declaring for the draft. So this year they're like, well, I think we're just seeing it a hell of a lot earlier. So Michael Porter, I don't think Fields will be back. I don't think he will either. Here's the thing. Everyone's like, oh, well, Fields is coming back. How the hell does Fields get eligible? He had that immediate eligibility to Ohio State. How does he get immediately eligible to come back to Georgia? I know that I ruined the conspiracy theories. My apologies. Let me switch over to Twitter for a second. Give me a little bit here. Sorry, not trying to ignore you folks, but I gotta. When all of a sudden my things start popping off, I gotta check them out. Everlasting Chaos says Fields isn't coming back. That's just a silly thought. Correct. Counterpole says he came to UGA to improve his draft stock. Leaving now doesn't help it. But it doesn't hurt it either. Losing the job would definitely hurt it. Business decision. Yeah, I saw some people say, look, he's not a first or second round draft pick. He's probably a third to fifth. Coming here, having a big year at Georgia would move him up. He's going to win the starting job, but what if he gets hurt halfway through? What if he gets COVID? What if he has issues? It's remember, there's millions of dollars on the line with these decisions, guys. And it's like, well, I can work and possibly move up, or I can stay pat and still go in the 3rd to 5th round. Maybe by the time I show them what I can do after 6 months of working out with a trainer, maybe I can move up that way. And again, you're right. It is a business decision. It's and don't forget, a lot of people are really nervous about this COVID thing. I am not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just a wishful thinker. Clay Bell says, I heard Newman was an interception machine in practice and JT Daniels was doing great. Although he's not even medically eligible yet. I have not heard that Newman was an interception machine, but let's also put this information out there. A lot of people were very stunned when we broke the news. I say we because I'm trying to take Jake Roos's credit for Jake Roos's story that JT Daniels was transferring to UGA. A lot of people said, why is he doing that? Why is he doing that? I will say this. Kirby Smart is a genius at roster management. No matter what, he's always got somebody lined up in the wings. And to him, he knew what Jamie Newman could do, but with JT Daniels, he's also seen what that guy can do. So you bring in JT Daniels because you hope that Jamie Newman is the man. You hope Dwan Mathis hasn't lost anything. You hope that you have something with Carson Beck, although that's looking less and less likely. So you don't win championships based on hope. You don't remember Kirby Smart had a fantastic quarterback and Jacob Eason lost on the 8th play of the first game. So you got to have that depth. And then Jake Fromm takes him to the national title. What if Jamie Newman got hurt? Then you only have Dwan Mathis kind of backing him up and Stetson Bennett. So he brought in JT Daniels. Now he looks like a bloody genius. So a lot of people say, oh, well, he was going to start Daniels from the beginning. That's why he brought him in. I think it was just more of a roster management because he's seen stuff like this happen. Man, poor Kirby. You get Justin Fields. You got to. He doesn't win the starting job. He transfers out. You get Jamie Newman, one of the hottest graduate transfers in the nation. He doesn't even play a game for you. You have Jacob Eason. He gets hurt 8 plays into the season. Guy can't win, it seems, but he keeps getting quarterbacks. And you got Brock Vandegrift coming in next year. So that's going to be fun. Elite GB says everyone just assumed Jamie would start. Well, I mean, he does have the most experience and has the most accomplished resume, so why not? Counterpole says, is Mathis ready? Zero evidence of that. Do you have evidence that he's not ready? Just being an ass. Sorry. 2020 is a throwaway season. JT Newman? Jamie Newman and the other 2 QBs are just a buffer waiting on Brock. I'm assuming you meant JT Daniels. I keep doing that too. JT Daniels and the other 2 QBs are just a buffer waiting on Brock. If anyone's going to carry us to a national title, Newman leaving is not a huge loss. Merrick Slayer, I will disagree. I think it is a huge loss, especially if you want to win the title this year. I'm not going to dignify that with a question or with a remark. Could it be Newman's foot surgery? That's interesting from Brent Hunter. No, we know that he was taking a lot of snaps with the ones. Now, you do bring up a very interesting point, Brett, in that the NFL is fanatical about injuries. The poking, prodding, x-rays, blood test, all that stuff. When you are when you're in Indianapolis at the combine, it's unreal. I've known guys who have spent 8 hours being x-rayed and MRI'd and tested 8 ways from Sunday. Ultrasounds, the other one, going over knees and stuff like that, just checking all sorts of different things because the NFL looks at these guys, these specimens, almost like racehorses. Are there any hairline fractures in this fibula? What happened in high school? I remember I mentioned the story numerous times when John Theus went to the NFL Combine. He spent hours them going over his ankle just because he'd hurt his ankle in high school, and they knew about it. So when you have an injury like Brett means with his foot, maybe he says, hey, my foot's a little tender. I don't want to take a chance on making it worse. Plus, you got the COVID thing out there. So And I've heard that with the COVID thing, you can get myocarditis, however you say it, the heart thickening of the heart muscles. I don't want to get it and have that opportunity not to make it to the NFL. I'm going to go be in a bubble until the draft. So, Sheriff, everyone hit the like button. Yeah. There's only 33 likes. Screw you people. I'm never doing this again. I kid, but please do subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Billy Hudgens says the young man doesn't want to take a chance on getting hurt, and this is the SEC. That's a very fair analysis. I got no problems with that. Ooh, 43 likes. That's what I'm talking about. Daniel Bonilla, Justin Fields at UGA. Daniel, I will come through this computer. Don't start with me. Brian Benninghoff, this is a huge loss. Bama has lost for sure. Now 7-3 is very much realistic win-loss season for us. Are we playing against any other first-time QBs this year? Okay, so you assume 3 losses. Who you got? Auburn, Alabama, and Florida? Sure about that? You going to go 0-3 against them? Auburn's lost a lot. Florida's lost a lot. Alabama's reloaded, but that defense was not very good last year compared to Alabama defenses of the past. So I don't know that. Give me your predictions. Before this thing started, I expected Georgia to go 9-1. That was just my take on it. The offensive line is a work in progress. I think Trey Hill, the center, is really strong. The 2 guard spots are kind of up for grabs. Yeah, as much as I'm a big supporter of Jamari Sawyer, that's a new position for him. It takes a lot of work to be the left tackle. The right tackle position, way up in the air. Who's your tight end? Nobody has a damn clue about that. You've got George Pickens and Demetrius Robinson hasn't really shown what he could do yet. Kyrus Jackson should be a bright spot, but you lost Dominic Blaylock. Your running backs, Zeus is great. James Cook can be great. Kendall Milton, very strong. But would you take any of them over DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel? Just don't see that yet. Defense should be lights out. Defense should be great. But again, new offensive coordinator, new offensive line coach. In other words, a ton of questions at UGA. And as fans, a lot of people go, oh, it'll be all fine. Just plug and play the next guy up. Ben Cleveland will be fine. Well, remember, Ben lost his job to Cade Mays. Cade's gone, Owen Condon will be fine at right tackle. Owen Condon is no Isaiah Wilson, Jamari Sawyer is no Andrew Thomas. So in a lot of those positions, you're good, but you're taking a step down from where you were last year. And last year, you didn't exactly kill the scoreboard with DeAndre Swift. With Lawrence Cager and guys like that. So there's a lot that could go on there. So I thought, hey, everything goes well with Georgia 9-1. Don't know who the loss was going to be. You could slip up in week 2, against Auburn. You can have a bad day. You could screw around in Jacksonville like we've seen so many times. You could lose to Alabama on the road. Would not shock me. But to say, in my estimate, to go from 9-1 to 7-3, I don't see that. 8-2 at the worst. At worst. Jason Dees, I believe that is, being realistic 8-2, but with breaks 9-1 possible. Yeah, I think it's fair. John Williams says no need to bash Jamie Newman. Let's move on. Next man up. With our defense, still say we went 8. Appreciate the scope today, Roddy. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Brett Hunter. I'm looking forward to seeing Rosemead. I'm looking forward to seeing Jermaine Burton. Marcus Rosemead, absolutely. I really want to see. Justin Robinson, see what he can do. I really wish that Arian was healthy right now. That would, a guy with not only track speed, but elite track speed. Mecole Hardman track speed, just uncatchable track speed. That would, that would be a guy to see. Why can't I think of his name? The track star that came to Georgia that ran with Arian. They ran the Panama. I can't remember. Anyway, Smith, one of the fastest guys out there. So I'd love to see what he can do. Sheriff says Vegas has us 8.5 at 8.5. Is it the same now? I guarantee you that's going to change. 9-1 is the worst we'll do with all the talent we have. Kevin Cook being a pretty optimistic there, but I think I was right. Bowling. God, I couldn't remember Matt Bowling. Thank you. Highland Roberts, what are the expectations for Trayvon Walker? If you were a member of UGAsports.com, then last Friday you saw in our practice notes that are exclusive, 27 cents a day. And we had some insider notes from practice. We mentioned the top 3 on the defensive interior. That would be Malik Herring, Jordan Davis, and one Trayvon Walker. Behind them, we had Julian Rochester, Tramel Walther, Jalen Carter. So some big bodies there. So that was. We also gave you the top 3 wide receivers. I mean, the first and second team in the wide receiver ranks. So nice little insider tidbits there that you won't find anywhere else. Jackson Bates says, do you think Azeez Ojulari could be like Lorenzo Carter? I think Azeez could be more effective than Lorenzo Carter. Again, I love Lorenzo Carter. Don't get me wrong. Great guy. Really hope he kills it. But there were so many times Lorenzo was just inches away from a sack. You know, he comes around the edge and the offensive tackle's going with him, and he reaches for the quarterback and he misses him by my IQ, you know, my fat rolls, you know, just about that far. And that just tiny. I think Azeez may have a little bit more strength. Maybe not quite the speed Lorenzo, but maybe he can get those hands off him, those offensive tackle hands off him a little bit more and affect the quarterback. So maybe that's just wishful thinking, but I think Azeez Ojulari has a incredible campaign ahead of him. And folks, get ready for Jermaine Johnson to have a breakout year from everything I'm hearing. Merkin Slayer. Hey, somebody else named Slayer instead of Sawyer. Thanks for live chatting. My pleasure. Silent Chaos says Darnell is healthy. Darnell is not healthy. He's out for a while. And they call him the Big O. I like it. Darnell Washington, big dude. So he is a red zone nightmare matchup. Stringing, how glad is GT that he transferred now? You got to think that what the coaches told him, they said, look, you know, we're going to give you a fair shot to play. He comes here, he's in a battle to start, and now all of a sudden the primary guy for the job is now opting out. So now all he has to do is beat out a guy who was been here for a while, who is yet to start for UGA, who's yet to play much for UGA. So JT Daniels, very, very happy that he's at Georgia right now. Timothy Seo, what's going on? Love the content. Cool to see a face to the name. Go Dogs. Kirby seemed to have a lot of foresight at the QB position. That's exactly. I agree. But again, he also has foresight at the tight end spot. Remember, they were kind of caught off guard when, you know, they lost some tight ends. You know, Luke Ford transfers. You know, what's the name? Leaves early for the NFL. They're a little shorthanded, but then boom, they get Eli Wolf to transfer in. This year they get Trey McKitty to transfer in. They bring on Rylan Goad, John Fitzpatrick, Darnell Washington. So again, Kirby's always working on roster management. If you don't respect Kirby for his recruiting prowess or his developmental capabilities, even though you see a lot of 3-stars going into the NFL, you got to give Kirby credit for roster management, for knowing where an opening is going to come in and being ready for it. The worst case scenario was that tight end thing, and he addressed that quickly. Remember, when Kirby got here, he was stunned at the size of Georgia's offensive and defensive lines. He has replaced them, revamped them in his years. He was not happy with the speed of his secondary. Now he has one of the fastest secondaries in the country. He needed some top-flight quarterbacks. He hangs on to Jacob Eason, lands Jake Fromm, gets Justin Fields, brings in Jamie Newman, gets Carson Beck, has Brock Vandegrift on the hook, and then gets JT Daniels. I mean, whatever you say about Kirby Smart, the man knows roster management like nobody's business. It's lights out. Counterpulse is, and he's coming off brain surgery. The job is JT's. That brain surgery was a long time ago. Yeah, Isaac Nada. Why can't I think of Isaac Nada's name? This goes back to yesterday. If you watched the podcast yesterday, I could not remember Trey Hill's name, 5 or 6 other names. I think I have some sort of weird brain COVID thing. I don't think I had this. There's just something is eating my brain right now because I can't not remember names for some reason. It's only my job. I hope you guys are much better at your job than I am at mine. The sheriff says, why do we get 5-star tight ends and don't use them productivity or don't get the productivity out of them? Is it Kirby or was it Fromm? It's the play calling. And again, a lot of that is, overseen by Kirby, but it's not that Fromm wouldn't throw to the tight ends. Hell, sometimes, they send them out and they're like, okay, well, you're the second or third progression. And then Fromm throws a back shoulder pass when the tight end was cutting over the middle and was open. Was it 2 years in a row when Georgia really needed to move the ball in Jacksonville before the first half? They throw the ball like 3, 4, 5 times Isaac Nada, and you just come flying down the field. They did it again with Wolf last year. If you follow me during a game, I'm usually on the sideline tweeting about why not throw it to the damn tight end. I don't get it, but I think a lot of times they keep that tight end a block. And how, when you take these 5-star tight ends, these top flight tight ends, and you make them into a 6th offensive lineman, how you continue to pull in top tight ends year after year is just a mystery to me. Again, he's a roster management genius. Roddy, have you told Jamie about us? Troubadour. No, I'm not going to tell him about anybody from the vent. Let's not do that. He can recruit, but can he win big games? He's won a few big games. He's won more than his predecessor did when it comes to big games against ranked opponents. But the biggest game is winning that title game, and you had a shot, and you lost it. But do you feel more comfortable getting there under Kirby Smart than you do with someone else? I mean, it is tough to get to the national title game. Winning it's even harder, but just getting into it, there's only 2 spots. And it is a nightmare. But you got to like your chances of getting there with Kirby. You won't get there every year, but you've been in a position to get there quite a few times. So I like Georgia's chances this year. I think that Georgia comes out 9-1, 8-2, worst case scenario. I do expect them to win the East. Even if you come out of the season 8-2, but having won the East, which I think is definitely possible, if you win the SEC title game, you're in the playoffs. But you got to win that SEC title game. You can go out 10-0 and not win that game, and all of a sudden this year you could probably be in it. But any other year, losing the SEC title game is a foregone conclusion that you don't get to play in it, don't get to be in the playoffs. It's not fair. Maybe the 2 best teams out of the 4 are in the SEC title game, but every year that you put 2 SEC teams in there, you have 2 other conferences that are red hot, livid, and that whole group Power 5 thing just gets tougher and tougher. As String Gene says, lots of luck getting there. I mean, God, how many times have you guys seen a punt get muffed, a high snap, a missed field goal, and you can go back and say that cost them this game? Hell, the South Carolina game. Jeez, not saying that kept Georgia out of it, getting drugged by LSU put them out of it, but you had a hell of a lot stronger case if you hadn't lost South Carolina. One less rainy day, so it's really tough. Kirby's built something and done it in a tough conference. Clay Melton, you are right. It's going to be tricky. All right, folks, I do appreciate everybody clicking in. I do have someplace I need to be at 6:30. At 6:22, I'm going to be late. I really appreciate everybody checking us out. Do me a favor. If you want us to do more of these, subscribe to the YouTube page. It doesn't cost you anything. We put up all the player interviews, all the highlights that we can find, and we will be doing more talks like this. So if you would subscribe, we'd greatly appreciate it. Doesn't cost you anything, and it might actually be good for us. At least we could brag that we have the most subscribers, and that's important to me. All right, y'all take care.